What's going on, y'all? It's Jonathan with JXR Network. Welcome to the first episode. Today I have the privilege of introducing Christian Natividad, aka the Hawaiian Punch. He is a pro MMA fighter, currently undefeated, 8-0, with a combined record of 13-0 when you include his amateurs. His hard-hitting flyweight is looking to keep this amazing streak going at LFA 228, March 13th, at the Gia River Resorts and Casinos, Wild Horse Pass in Chandler, Arizona. And with further ado, I'd like to introduce the man of the show, Christian, the Hawaiian Punch, Natividad. Thank you for showing up, brother.
Sure you for having me, man.
All right, so as we get into it, before we get into the fight, I should say, what's something that for people who may not know who you are, a little bit of background on yourself, where you from, ethnicity, anything you feel comfortable with sharing.
Yeah, man. So I'm originally from of Beach, Hawaii. Pretty much been there all my life up until college. I went to college over in Oregon, Southern Oregon, and a bit spot. Definitely miss it over there, but I decided I wanted to move somewhere a little bit different and ended up landing over in Arizona the year later and just loved it ever since.
So you said you came here after high school, correct?
I went to Oregon first after high school, and then I did a year there, and then came here to Arizona right after.
Sweet. What drug you to Arizona?
Funny story, man. So I was wrestling over at Southern Oregon, and really good program, NAIA, and they're ranked number 2 during the time I was there. And I wanted to wrestle at a higher level just because if I become national champion, I want to be the national champion of the best. And I was debating between Oregon State and Arizona State. And funny story, the reason why I chose Arizona State was because of their singlets. They have nicer singlets than Oregon State, and I just decided to move over to Arizona. Can't really say I wrestled with Arizona State because I wasn't there for, barely even a season, but I did have to walk onto the team when I first came here to Arizona.
Sweet. So you mentioned you're from Evan Beach, Hawaii. What was one of the hardest things about moving away from home?
At the time, it wasn't really hard to move just because right after high school, it just it's that exciting point in time where you want to start your life, and being on a rock your entire life, it was pretty fun and exciting to think about moving over to the mainland and, seeing all the opportunity that the mainland has to offer.
So getting back into the fighting a little bit. So you mentioned you've only wrestled for ASU for how long again?
Not even full season, so technically I wouldn't even say I wrestled at ASU.
So was that your first form of martial art?
No, so I started back in high school, and I started really late in my career. So uh, I originally started doing jujitsu. That's for my first martial art that I've started with, and that's when I was a sophomore in high school. When I became a junior, my brother, big influence on me, he told me, "Yo, you should start wrestling because wrestling would really complement your jiu-jitsu." So obviously took his advice, and I went to the wrestling coach's classroom. His name is Coach Bulow, and I was like, "Hey, Coach, I wanna join the wrestling team." And he said, "Okay, what grade are you in?" And I said, "I'm a junior." And right then and there, he said no. And I was like, "Coach, why?" And he told us it's so crazy because he told me all these kids have been wrestling since before they could even walk. What makes you think you could hang with them being junior? And I was like, "Coach, come on, just give me a shot, give me a shot." And he was like, "No." And so I asked him a few times, and I pretty much begged this guy, "Hey, let me join the team." And he said, "You know what? Fine, show up to tryouts later today." So I show up to practice, and I'm trying out, and we're practicing with the JV team. And long story short, my junior year of high school, my first year ever wrestling, I took third in the state, and the following year, my senior year, I went undefeated.
Dang. National champion?
Not national champion, state champion.
State champion, I'm sure. State champion. Damn. So for one from never wrestling to pretty much within a span of a year.
Pretty much. And, a lot of it just contributes to, hard work and believing in my coaches and also my coaches back at the jiu-jitsu gym. We weren't a heavy wrestling gym, but we did wrestle.
Sweet. Sweet. So when was it? when you decided that you wanted to kind of mix everything together? Let's start training MMA.
Yeah. So my brother, he's always been in uh, the MMA world. So when I started do jujitsu with him, he was already fighting MMA. When I was wrestling in high school, college, he was still fighting MMA actively. When we first moved here to Arizona, since I had to walk onto the team, I couldn't just start training with the team. I definitely had to prepare and practice for the tryouts. I went over to Arizona Combat Sports, and that's when I started dabbling in the striking. Like, back in Hawaii, we used to always fight back then, but nothing really ever structured. We would just spar in our garage or at the park. At Easy Combat, that's when I was doing a lot of wrestling because I wanted to try out for the rescue team, but I was like, you know what? I might as well throw on some gloves and dabble with a little bit of striking. And that's when I found a deep passion for, just MMA overall because I was able to combine everything together. So when I walked onto the ASU wrestling team, it wasn't long until I decided, I miss, combining everything together, and that's when I decided to just make the transition to MMA.
Sweet. Now, was your brother already at ASU when you went?
No, so the way that it happened, my brother didn't even go to college. Right? I mean, he went to a community college, but so when I was at Oregon and when I decided that I wanted to go to ASU, I got admitted. And the first thing I do is I text my brother because obviously need a roommate, need to figure out if I'm going to be living in the dorms or find an apartment. So I text my brother and I tell him, yo, I just got admitted to ASU. You want to be my roommate? Next message, my brother just sent a one word reply and just said yes. And I know even though he had a successful career over back in Hawaii, he was ready to kind of like what I said, start his life and, move over to the mainland to see what opportunities were available.
And what's your brother's name?
His name's Kevin.
Kevin. So, speaking a little bit about Kevin, seeing his success and the overall just growth that he's had. How much older is he than you?
He's about 4 years.
About 4 years. Okay, so a little bit of an age gap there. Um, Looking at him and seeing the success that he's had, um, would you say that that influence had a heavier influence on you wanting to get into mixed martial arts? Or would you say that just overall, as soon as you went to the gym and started striking a little bit, you're like, this is where I'm at.
Absolutely has a big influence on me just because, like you said, he's had a successful career as an amateur and then went pro after. I think he was like 13-1 as an amateur, and I was there for pretty much every single one of his amateur fights except for one. And unfortunately, it was the one that he lost, the one that I wasn't able to make it to. But uh, just seeing like how much fun he's had, being in the whole MMA world was definitely really inspiring for me to want to be a part of that.
So just to, um, next question I would say is, so we're getting ready. You're getting ready. I shouldn't say we, because I'm right here in this chair and I'm just behind the camera trying to interview you. So coming up Friday, March 13th. What point are you at in camp right now?
So fight is coming up or less than a week away, and pretty much all the hard work is done. At this point, I'm not gonna get in any better shape. As far as technique, yeah, maybe I could learn a thing or two here, but we've really dialed in, got everything set for this fight. So all that I have to do now, it's pretty much the worst part of fighting, which is making the weight. So just focusing on getting my weight down and focusing on waves.
So for anybody who's not familiar with weight cutting or just even in the MMA scene in general, how does that typically go? I know fighters like to be at a specific weight during the time that even day before weigh-ins, maybe 2 days before weigh-ins. So what does that look like for your regimen as far as you go? What weight are you at when you started camp, and then where would you like to be to weigh in at 125, correct?
125.
125. So where were you at when you started camp, and then where do you like to be, whether it's a day of, or a few days before you actually weigh in?
Yeah, so the funny thing about MMA is you see all these people especially when they're showing the height, age, weight, all that stuff. So someone who fights at 125 does not. weigh 125. Someone who fights at 155 does not weigh 155. Except for heavyweights, because heavyweights, a lot of times they don't cut weight, but us smaller guys, we definitely, I don't want to say we like to cut weight, but it's just a part of the sport. And the reason why is because weight could hold a big advantage, right? So if I was 125 pounds and if I were to fight you and you weigh 145 pounds, you have a 20-pound weight advantage on me, which obviously in a way is not fair.
Yes, of course.
So a lot of people who fight at 125, they weigh pretty much the same after weigh-in. So to kind of explain that, when I first started my fight camp, I was about high 40s, maybe 145, and I have to get my weight down to 125. Right after weigh-ins, we're just depleting ourselves with a lot of water, dieting a little bit down, just because to lose 20 pounds of water is pretty difficult under. So right after weigh-ins, we start hydrating, we start eating, getting the proper nutrition into our bodies. Probably come fight day, I'll probably be a mid 40s again, probably like 142 to 145. And same thing with my opponent. I don't know what he walks at, but I'm pretty sure he seems like a pretty big guy. So as far as the weight class goes, so I'm pretty sure he's cutting about 20 pounds. We'll probably weigh the same come fight day, even though we're contracted at 25.
25. So how much would you say? So, if you comfortable sharing, where are you at right now? How much? What?
This morning I was 138.4, so I have about 13 pounds. We're about like 4 days out from weigh-ins. A big part of this weight cut is, cutting water, right? Because I don't want to diet off 20 pounds because I won't have that weight, advantage, or he might have that weight advantage on me. Definitely something. I don't want to say something you don't want, but less advantages he has, the better, right?
Of course, yes, yes, 100%. Um, so with that being said, um, so we're about how many days from the fight? We're about 6 days,
Uh, about 5 days from the fight, 4 days from weigh-ins.
4 days from weigh-in, 5 days from the fight. So, you mentioned you guys have already gone over pretty much everything. You're still working a little bit on whatever it be, maybe focus mids or just a little bit of technique here and there. Um, so you are currently fighting out of where?
So I moved over to the lab. So the MMA lab, that's where I currently train. I've been there since, I'd say, August of August of last year. And to be honest, I love it, man. That's such a good gym. A room full of absolute killers, but a room full of people who obviously, like, they got your back.
Is that I hear that's a big misconception about MMA fighters and all combat sports thoroughly, but majority of the time, for people who are outside of the sport or who may be just casual watchers or even a fan and they tune into fights and stuff like that, have this conception about MMA gyms being so brutal. Um, and everybody in there, obviously, it's fighting, and it's not just hands, but you also got wrestling, jujitsu, kickboxing, Muay Thai. A lot of more extremities are being thrown during these fights. Um, we tend to feel like guys are not approachable because we see you guys in action, and we're like, dude, this guy is so like he's so rough and so brutal inside the cage. We almost feel standoffish to come and approach you guys, or even want to go to a gym. Um, what is something you can tell the audience about the sport of MMA just as a whole and how good the camaraderie is inside those gyms?
You know, don't get me wrong, you'll find those gyms where people are, you know, they have a high ego. There's gyms like that all over the world, but there's also hidden gems like the MMA lab where not just it's a room full of absolute killers, but a room full of loving people who, genuinely want to look out for you and look out for your best interest. So that's one thing I truly do like. Unfortunate about moving over to the lab, even though we have a room full of like absolute savages. It's people who I know I could count on, people who look out for my best interest. If they see me making a mistake, they're gonna go ahead and make that correction. And people who want to support me, all the way till the end.
All right, so I'd like to talk a little bit about your last performance at LFA 220. You had a first round TKO. Very impressive. I was there for that fight. before that fight, your brother took a fight to decision, and unfortunately ended up not winning that one. With you in the back, getting warmed up and getting ready for your fight because you fought after him, being what happened in that fight. For anybody who doesn't know, Kevin had took a shot to the scrotum, and had a decent eye poke to where the point he couldn't see out that eye for a little over, say, a week, 2 weeks, maybe even 3. Did that have any effect on you coming out? Because you came out and you performed first round TKO. Would you say that you fought with a little bit of more like angerness, or yeah? How would you explain how that whole mentality part played out?
Yeah, so that did put me in a pretty tough situation, right? But this is gonna sound kind of selfish for me to say, but it had no effect on me. And the reason why is, I mean, when I was in the back room warming up, I was warming up with one of my teammates, and my brother was fighting, and I could not focus on warming up. I told my teammate, I said, yo, I need a second. He was like, what's up? And I told him, yo, I gotta watch my brother fight, you know? Like, he's always been there for me. I wanna be there for him, and I need to watch him fight. So, took some time off, and we ended up watching my brother fight, and, you know, it was interesting, man, because my brother wasn't performing to what I know he's capable of, you know? So, had that nut shot, and then he also got poked in the eye, which I honestly didn't know that he got poked in the eye when it happened. But it explains why he wasn't being able to perform like how he usually does when he's at the gym or in his previous other fights. And so after, when he lost the fight, you know, I was in the back room, and obviously I was devastated. My heart was broken. And first thing I wanted to do was, you know, run out to my brother and just check and see if he's okay. But obviously, couldn't do that. I was 2 fights away from, you know, my fight. So I just had to pretty much forget everything that just happened. You know, I had to forget that even that he just fought, you know. I had to just dial back in, lock in, and focus on myself and my fight, because that's what's important to me right now. So that's pretty much all I did. I just forgot that he even fought, and I had to go out and do my thing. Whether he was competing with me or not, I have a mission, and that mission is to, you know, hurt my opponent and get the dub.
I say that was pretty much mission accomplished right there. I mean, talk about getting in and get out. Obviously with that first round TKO, we were all super hype. I can't never say that anytime I've been to a fight that you and your brother are on, that the crowd is not. Does it feel like home advantage? Because the crowd goes crazy even during your guys' walkouts, and just overall, obviously when you guys perform like the way you do, would you feel like, and obviously being at home, do you feel that home advantage, or are you always, obviously you fought in other places, but here at home, do you ever feel like a little bit more comfortable because you you got however many people, or is it more pressure because performing in your home?
I love fighting in my backyard. Love fighting here, especially kind of like you just said. I have the energy of everyone around me, people supporting me. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether I compete here at home or, you know, in enemy territory. The mission stays the same, and honestly, all that stuff gets tuned out. You know, all that's, you know, really going through my mind. It's me and my opponent, and we're gonna share the cage together.
So we see sometimes in movies, obviously Hollywood's it, but sometimes they show in combat movies where like you don't, like, no matter how loud the audience is, it's like literally like kind of like white noise in your ear, and sometimes you may not even hear your coaches, whatever the case may be, because you're so locked into the fight. Would you say that's accurate?
Pretty accurate. You know, and I think to each their own. You know, for me, I honestly don't even hear a lot of the crowd. All I hear is, you know, pretty much my coaches, which is crazy because I'm able to single out their voices and hear them versus the crowd going crazy.
Um, so being now at the MMA lab, um, when did you make the switch? Was it your previous fight, two fights ago?
Yeah, it was before my last fight. So my last fight was back in October, and I made the switch. I think it was in August.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
right, in August. What are some of the differences outside of the atmosphere, the environment, and the people at the gym? What would you say can allude to you performing like how you did at LFA 220, getting a first round TKO?
So, like I mentioned, a room full of good people. You know, people that got your back and people that look out for your best interests. So, obviously, the teammates do play a huge role as far as my progression goes. But when I switched over to the lab, the biggest thing that the head coach John Crouch had in mind for me is finding these finishes. So even though I've always been undefeated, we gotta finish these guys. So that's a big focus as far as every day I'm there. How can we progress to the next position and be more dominant? So it's a daily work in progress. There's gonna be a lot of growing pains because it's hard to make these big adjustments, finding a finish, but it's something that we're gonna keep working on.
For sure. Um, so a little bit of pop-up questions for you. Favorite restaurant in Arizona?
It's got to be Pacific Rim, man. Pacific Rim, it's one of the best, best restaurants as far as local Hawaiian food. Whether you're here in Arizona or back in Hawaii, the food that they have is super authentic. And one thing that you'll love when you go there is you won't just fall in love with the food. You'll fall in love with the people because the people that they have there, super genuine, super nice. They make me feel at home every time I'm there.
And then what would you say? Obviously, Hawaii is, I've never been there, but just always looking at pictures or seeing people go to Hawaii, obviously it looks like a paradise. Obviously, where you are, not to say that, every single place that you go in Hawaii is, you know, looks the greatest or whatever the case may be. But what would you say comparing to, like, you guys have the ocean, greenery, the trees, volcanoes?
Uh, over not on Oahu, yeah,
Oh,
but
okay.
over on the Big Island.
Um, where would you say, like, comparing that? I wouldn't even say comparing, but like, what is your favorite thing about Arizona's nature that has to offer that may be different than Hawaii?
So the nice thing about living here in Arizona is back in Hawaii, like you mentioned, a lot of greenery. You know, you got the beach, things that we don't have here in Arizona. So, I mean, pretty much it's just a bunch of dirt, you know, where we're living at anyways. But the thing I love about Arizona is if you're to take a 2 hour drive just going up north, you're pretty much in a completely different state. You know, there's a lot of green over in Payson, Prescott, Flagstaff, and a lot of beautiful hikes that you could do. Still no beach, but there's lakes that that you could go to where you could be in the water.
Where's your favorite place to go? Whether you're trying to get your mind off of something or a post fight, um, or a place where you can just get away. What is your favorite location here?
I love lots of places up north, but I do love Prescott. If I were to retire here in Arizona, I think it would be over in Prescott, just because it's city enough for me to have like all the things that that I need around me, but it's far enough to where I don't feel like I'm in the city, and I feel like people are super respectful, super nice over there. I still get that small town vibe.
Well, yeah, 100%. Um, now, uh, with your fight coming up Friday, March 13th, I want to, first of all, just pre-congratulate you. I can't wait to see you perform. Um, I think, I think for certain that I'll be there, um, and I'll be cheering you on, brother. Um, I couldn't imagine a world where if you perform like how you anticipate to, like how everybody anticipates you, even if it is a decision win, um, that we don't see you up in the big leagues here pretty soon, fighting for under a UFC card. Um, So with that being said, again, I can't wait to see you perform. I'll be in your corner, obviously in the stands. But everybody, everybody will definitely be cheering you on, and we just can't wait to see the best of you. If we hadn't seen it yet, I mean, a first round TKO finish is a little hard to raise the bar, but everybody knows that you have that killer mentality, and we really can't wait to see you perform and just do the best that we know you can. It'll be no time till, at least in my mind, and knowing who you are, I know it'll be no time till you crack that top 15, and then that top 5, title eliminator, and then we're gonna look back. At least I'll look back in this conversation and just be super grateful that you would come on the show, having a future UFC flyweight champion, and I can't wait to see you hoist up that belt. If you would like to, for the audience who may be tuning into this LFA 228 here coming up March 13th, what are some things that we can expect from you?
You know, I say this all the time. Always expect fireworks because I always bring fireworks, right? But make sure you tune in this time because I believe, like you said, this is going to be my last performance outside of the UFC banner. So it's going to be a fun one. Main event, I'm going against someone who's very tough, someone who's very game, and someone who's very, very confident up until he's not. So just make sure you guys tune in March 13th.
Any sponsors that you would like to give a shout out to?
You know, lots of them. So talking about Pacific Rim. So Pacific Rim, they just make me feel at home and definitely love being in that atmosphere, you know, and also making my tummy happy. So huge shout out to them. Control Physical Therapy, they've played a huge role with my MMA journey, especially thus far, with having a bunch of injuries. They pretty much do my tire rotations, you know, just keep making sure my body stays healthy. Top Row AG dispensary, definitely appreciate everything they've done for me. Hawaiian Fight Gear from the start, they've always had my back. Blacksmith, it's another MMA company that's in the works right now, but you'll be hearing big things coming soon from them. I have more. I can't think of them.
It's all good, brother.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you for coming on the show, first guest, so I couldn't ask for a more exciting person to talk to. I've been wanting to get you on a one-on-one conversation for a while now, so I can't thank you enough for tuning in, for being on here. And like I said, brother, I can't wait to see you perform like I know you are. And best of luck in the future. And anywhere you need me, I'm here, and I'll be in your corner, win or lose. Although we don't really think about that. But yeah, man, appreciate you for coming on the show. Hopefully you want you down for a post fight interview?
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Anytime you want to invite me, man, I'm here.
All right, appreciate you, brother. Well, good luck on Friday, March 13th. Make sure you guys tune in, LFA 228. If you're in Arizona and either in neighboring states for that matter and want to see some real life fireworks, they will be at the Gila River Resort and Casinos, Wild Horse Pass in Chandler, Arizona, March 13th on Friday. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man. Let's get this dub.
Yes, sir.